amobia kwaba edi about the Punch TV. Mese se obe share video edi amami amafo franya bi ahwe no hu ne yekoso e wo man Ghana ene ne circulate e wo social media no eso media ne akere broni de bia nsem no foforo ba na ba se de bia me de me meka me se ade ye che e beda be sore ya nti asem no na chese enye ti de bia nsem foforo ba na be ba social media no so ne ba the Punch TV ye de bibia e trodo ye be fa se video asem na nipa ne kan yo se de sitie na ene be ba be ka na emom no ye nyi bi mfrim ye mfa bi enka ho ekura it is a ope ensem de be twa go social media ne so ana de ege ne ho me na e wo media ne so aye no kura nkwa de a meso so be me subscribe button ne so na subscribe to your YouTube channel no eye the Punch TV se de be ya e post video a onsusu be nya notification no ahwe bi e de ama me e ma wura mfi so obe share video no obe like afi wadwen kire no waje no comment section hono e de ama me ama matimi aba be kenkan e de ama.
I think that it is impossible for any betting agency to develop a scheme based on Supreme Court rulings in Ghana. Now, look, anybody you ask, everybody knew that the Supreme Court was going to take a decision in favor of the NPP caucus in Parliament and therefore Afenyo-Markin. I didn't hear one person who thought that the decision could be anything else than what has been delivered. Now, it is instructive that a former Chief Justice has had cause to complain that our courts are becoming too predictable. As a former Chief Justice, it is also instructive that a legal giant like Mr. Chachu Chikata has made the point that, you know, the crisis in our economy is far less severe than the crisis in our judiciary, and there are several other such comments. Indeed, this morning, you've read the comments of Justice Atuguba, who himself was a Supreme Court judge, and his comments are exceedingly interesting. He makes the point that the politicians we have, weird as they are, appear hell-bent on influencing judicial decisions. And he makes the point that even when they know they are wrong, they still attempt to influence judicial decisions, and that the courts are courts and can be persuaded by different kinds of means, and so on. These are very sad commentaries. In any democratic, dispensation, these are very, very sad commentaries. And these are the commentaries which are being made. Now, Randy, I, as a layperson, finds the decision of the Supreme Court exceedingly weird. Okay, and I would explain. By the Supreme Court decision, somebody like Mamle Cynthia Morrison, Honorable, is still an NPP member of Parliament. Clear. And by virtue of a membership of the NPP, membership of Parliament as an NPP parliamentarian, she's entitled to participate in decisions of the NPP caucus. Now here is a woman who on the ground, in the constituency, is fighting the NPP, is campaigning against the NPP. And yet the Supreme Court says that she remains a member of the NPP caucus. How is that going to work? The Supreme Court is saying that Honorable Mamle Morrison can attend NPP caucus meeting, even though she's against the party. This is weird. Extremely weird. By that decision, the Supreme Court is also saying that the NDC member of Parliament who has gone independent is still a member of the NDC caucus in Parliament. Weird. How does the NDC admit somebody into its meetings some of which may be confidential meetings, who is on the ground campaigning against the party. So, these decisions, at least, they ought to sound reasonable to people like us. But clearly, they don't. Now, the decision has been made that the Speaker's ruling was unconstitutional. What is the effect of that?
Look, that's what I was going to ask you about in view of your earlier remarks. Because we've not seen the reasons by the Supreme Court, could it be that the Supreme Court's position that the Speaker's action was unconstitutional has to do with one of the reliefs from the plaintiffs, which makes the point that by the Constitution, it is the High Court that can pronounce on a vacancy and not the Speaker. Could it be that that was a decision of the Supreme Court and that the Supreme Court has not gone into whether the NPP or NDC constitutions kick in, whether they remain members or not members, but on the vexed issue of whether it is the High Court that can pronounce on the matter or the Speaker?
Let us assume that your speculation is grounded. Let us assume that your speculation is grounded. And that the Supreme Court decision is that it's the High Court which can pronounce on the matter. And if the High Court pronounce on the matter, the status quo remains.
No, they say that, you see, what they have announced to us is that the decision by the Speaker is unconstitutional. The reason why they say it's unconstitutional is what I am putting out a guess.
Exactly.
No, let me okay. Is what I'm putting out a guess. But what they have said is that the decision by the Speaker is unconstitutional, which means that they've quashed it, because that was the relief sought by. That if you agree with me that it is so, then give me A, B, C, D. So the effect is that the decision taken by the Speaker, as far as the Supreme Court, is quashed. The Supreme Court has told us that by 5-2, they say that it's unconstitutional. Now, my point is that because we've not seen the reasons, is it possible that all they focused on was that it is the High Court, or it doesn't lie in the mouth or power of the Speaker to declare a seat vacant, and therefore his action is unconstitutional?
Randy, and I'm saying that let us assume that is what the Supreme Court decision is based on. Even if we assume that that is what the Supreme Court decision is based on, the High Court has not taken a position yet.
Nobody is before the High Court.
Exactly.
Yes.
So therefore, we go back to the status quo ante.
Which the status quo ante is...
Which means that we are still members of Parliament.
Yes.
Which and
yes.
Then all these practical difficulties kick in.
Oh yes.
You understand?
Oh, yes.
So no matter the reasons that the Supreme Court gives, by deciding that the Speaker's ruling or the Speaker's announcement or decision was unconstitutional, we are now saying that Cynthia Morrison is still an NPP member of Parliament. Therefore, by implication, belongs to the NPP caucus, and in spite of the fact that she's campaigning against the NPP in her constituency, has a seat in the NPP caucus in Parliament.
In fact, the Sum MP, what's his name?
I mean, that's out there.
The Sum MP, Kwesi, he's told us publicly that when the notice of poll came out, he was taken off the platform.
Cynthia Morrison was taken off the platform.
And they were taken off the platform.
Yes.
And then when the court case, the decision came and they were going to go, they were added to the platform.
Exactly.
So obviously, the caucus itself, the leadership of the caucus, realized that these were traitors. These were not people we could trust. These are not people who can work with us.
Yes.
And they are not people who should be privy to caucus information. And that's how come they took them off the platforms.
Exactly.
But of course, once they had initiated a court action, it was in their interest to then bring them back.
So this is the absurd situation we have. You understand? Absurd situation, really absurd situation. But hey, Randy, you are not a Supreme Court judge. Maybe you would never be. I don't know.
Yes.
Yeah.
I will never be.
And I'm not even a lawyer. You understand? But the law ought to be logical, ought to make sense. And in this particular case, I find it extremely difficult to accept that somebody campaigning against a party can actually be forced by some interpretation of the Constitution to remain part of that party, and therefore, by right, should attend meetings of the party, including confidential meetings of the party. Very strange decision. But the decision has been made. Okay. Now, the question then is that what is the purpose of this decision? What is the effect of this decision? As we speak, as we sit here this morning, Parliament is not sitting. And government and its caucus in Parliament, the NPP caucus in Parliament, insists that there is urgent business to be done. That is why they signed a petition calling on the Speaker to reconvene Parliament and so on. Okay. This decision, can it in any practical terms lead to reconvening of Parliament? I doubt. A petition may be filed, yes, compelling the Speaker to reconvene Parliament. When the Speaker reconvenes Parliament, just on the basis of the standing orders, he needs numbers to be able to allow Parliament to work. If those numbers are not present in Parliament, Parliament cannot work, even if the Speaker is compelled to reconvene Parliament. So what is the effect of the Supreme Court decision? What is the practical effect of the Supreme Court decision? This Supreme Court decision cannot by any stretch of imagination lead to an order about where people should sit in Parliament. It cannot. So this whole hula baloo about where parliamentarians has not been resolved by this Supreme Court decision. And Randy, I know you read the newspapers yesterday. I read all the newspapers I could find yesterday, and 3 of them carried a very interesting story. New Crusading Guide, the Daily Guide, and one other newspaper. And they gave reasons why Honorable Afenyo-Markin is acting in the manner he is acting today. And they quoted Honorable Afenyo-Markin. And his primary reason was that this whole issue is spiritual. It's not a legal issue, it's not a constitutional issue, it is a spiritual issue. Spiritual! Randy, Afenyo-Markin says this is a spiritual issue. Are we taking spiritual issues to the Supreme Court?
Maybe he's a spiritual man.
Yeah, he can be a spiritual man. But the Supreme Court does not make determinations on spiritual issues. So if it's as spiritual as Afenyo-Markin wants us to believe, why did he take the matter to the court, to the Supreme Court, spiritual issue? Why? Didn't he know that there is somebody on the Spintex Road called Archbishop Dr. Williams? He didn't know that. He didn't know of Mensah Otabil.
You don't know
He didn't know of Obinim and
you
so
don't know
on.
who he has consulted. So he took the legal matter to the Supreme Court. And he's also exercising the spiritual things elsewhere.
He did not talk about legality.
Other one, he says, speaking that in court. He's speaking law in court. And he's speaking spirituality
I mean, when I read that
somewhere
piece
else.
yesterday, I was shivering that this whole matter is spiritual. Spiritual. Honorable. You are wasting our time on spiritual matters. And the Supreme Court actually sits on a spiritual matter. What? But that is what he says, you know. And yesterday I was so completely shocked, you know. But be that as it may, the court has made a determination. There is a school of thought which insists that the law and its interpretation ought to be purposive. So we need to find the purpose that this ruling serves. and I'm struggling. I can't find it.
Maybe when the decision comes, when we see the
Consequential orders?
No, so they will give us the reasons for the decision. So the reasons plus the consequential orders will give us maybe a deeper insight.
Yeah, but I'm trying to see it now, and I can't.
Because you are not a spiritual man.
That is true.
Okay.
Randy, that one there, you are correct. I mean, I saw the spiritual business and so on. I'm not into that vocation at all. But then, can this lead to a reconvening of Parliament? By itself, it cannot.
Yes.
Can it determine where people sit in Parliament? By itself, it cannot. So what is the purpose of all this ruling, all this hula baloo and so? What is the purpose?
Maybe it's a guide to future. So two things will happen. One, the NPP gets to keep its majority until the expiration of this.
But the NPP has no majority.
No, I'm saying that the NPP side was declared the majority.
No,
I'm saying that the speaker, the same speaker.
No.
Why?
Randy, the speaker was careful.
Yes.
In his ruling that day to make the point that there's no majority caucus in Parliament. There cannot be. By virtue of Article 98(1), G and H, that there could not be a majority party in Parliament. And therefore the Speaker's ruling was that because the independent candidate had opted to work with the NPP side, there was a majority group and not caucus. The Speaker was emphatic on that, and a minority group. Because it would have been very strange, exceedingly strange, if anybody, not just the Speaker, had declared that 137 can mathematically be superior to 137. It's a mathematical impossibility. Yes, sir. So the Speaker could not have made that declaration. So the Speaker, in his own wisdom, and being who he is, and so on, then decided to use groups instead of caucus. I was opposed to the Speaker because it raised many fundamental constitutional and legal matters, you understand? But everybody allowed it to go. What we are suffering today is a consequence of that ruling by the Speaker declaring the NPP group majority.
Because the independent decided to opt to work with them.
Yes.
So that gave them a working majority.
Group as a group.
Yes.
Not as a party caucus.
Yes. So there's a majority group.
Yes, majority group.
Yes.
But even that, I believe that a strict application of the provisions of the Constitution disabled the Speaker from making that decision. Strict application.
But we've gone past that, and nobody challenged it in court.
At the time, I warned that it will have consequences, and now we have consequences. What I think actually happened was that this whole idea of 137 as against 137 had never occurred in our parliamentary history, right from independence. Never occurred. And I don't think that anybody assumed that one day we'll be faced with this reality. So the tradition, the practice, the standing orders and all has been couched in such a way as to reflect majority versus minority. When the situation changed, we needed to have done re-engineering, to rewrite the standing order, to take account of the fact that, look, we are now in uncharted territory. We are now in a territory in which the NPP has 137, the NPP has 137, and there's no majority. Rather than re-think through the standing orders and recraft the standing orders and so on, the Speaker chose the easy option of declaring the independent candidate or independent member of Parliament and the NPP majority group. I have to be careful how I speak, because otherwise I'll describe this as a very lazy option. Lazy option. And the lazy option is what has brought us here. The lazy option is what has brought us here. In any case, Parliament is supposed to wind up its business by Friday. Okay. Not originally, nothing has changed. That hasn't changed. There's no decision which changes that as we sit here. It may change, but it hasn't changed. You understand? So Parliament is supposed to wind up its business by Friday. Today is Wednesday. All of you members of Parliament know that it is extremely risky now to be spending your time in Parliament rather than in your constituencies. That's a real practical problem for you as members of Parliament. How do you overcome that problem? And in any case, even if you decided to leave your constituencies and go to Parliament, to go and carry on business as usual and so on, how are you sure of achieving a quorum, of making a quorum? It's impossible to determine now. Now, you yourself signed compelling the Speaker to reconvene Parliament, and you refuse to go to Parliament. You refuse practically to go to Parliament when Parliament was reconvened. So what kind of circus are we in? We're in a complete circus. You cannot make any reasonable prediction today sitting here based on the Supreme Court decision. In any case, Afenyomark, one of his biggest problems is that he cannot sit in the chair of the minority leader for spiritual reasons. Is there a chair in Parliament which is designated as the minority leader's chair? I don't know. There's no chair in Parliament, as far as I'm concerned, which is designated as a minority leader's chair.
There are sides. And then there is a place on each side for the leaders. And then there are name tags too.
Yeah, but those name tags, they are always removed. They remove Haruna Idrisu's name tag and put Atufosin's name tag. You know, they are always removed. So there's no chair, practically, which is designated as belonging to one particular person. There's no chair.
You don't know. Maybe somebody carries this chair.
And this right side and left side is not even in the standing orders of Parliament.
It's a convention.
Yes. Okay?
It's a convention.
Randy, I'm not disputing that. But it's not in the standing orders. It's not something that you can enforce by law. If the Supreme Court cannot decide who sits where in Parliament, it's not a matter of constitutional interpretation. It's not a violation of law and so on. So this ruling by the Supreme Court, what really is the effect of that ruling? Yes, Randy, tell me what the effect is.
That the group that has operated as the majority from January 8th or so will continue to operate as such until the dissolution of Parliament. That's the effect.
You see, there are other practical problems. And Honorable, please guide us. You are a member of Parliament. You have Right Honorable Bagbin as the Speaker of Parliament. Okay? And then you have Joe Wise, I've forgotten his real name.
Joe Osei-Wusu.
Joe Osei-Wusu as the Deputy Speaker of Parliament. And then you have the independent Member of Parliament as the second Deputy Speaker of Parliament. What does the rule say?
That both should not come from the same party.
Exactly.
That's why I'm saying that.
Now you have a situation where the first Deputy Speaker is from NPP, the second Deputy Speaker is from NPP. What a situation!
Kwesi, maybe what should have happened was that maybe somebody should have gone to court at the time to say that to the extent that he has opted to work with the NPP group, and to the extent that that then constitutes the majority group, he cannot, or both of them cannot be first deputy and second deputy.
There were practical problems. Okay. One of the practical problems was that in persuading him to be on the NPP side,
yes,
this is one of the offers made to him.
Yes.
That if he agreed to be on the NPP side, he would then become the second Deputy Speaker of Parliament. One of the things that was offered to him.
And then NDC also agreed.
And the NDC itself,
Yes.
at the time, was not in a fighting mood. It was in a mood for compromises.
No, they believe that they had got the speaker. So if the MPP will not drag the issue of the chewed ballot papers and others, and this is what they want, let's give it to them and move.
But that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So the NDC itself was in a mood to abandon principle and legality at that time in favor of compromises. This is the price we are paying for the compromises, the unreasonable and illegal compromises which were reached at the time. That's the price we are paying.
You have a point.
Okay? So, if we are in a crisis, we are in a crisis because all the parties in parliament, plus the speaker, decided to reach compromises which, on the face of the compromises, violated the constitution.
Because they then believe that they are master of their own rules.
Exactly.
Today, one side doesn't believe same.
Exactly. One side and the Supreme Court are saying that we are not in.
No, they don't believe, so they went.
Yes, and the Supreme Court agrees with them. Okay, so now we are in a situation where compromise, where negotiations and so on has been thrown away.
But that's what Afenyo Makin is asking for now. This is extending a hand of friendship. They should
After
come.
all this.
Yeah, they should come. They should come. They should put that episode behind them and come.
But you see, hand of friendship can be taken or rejected. Proper hand of friendship can be taken or rejected. And I'm quite sure, almost certain, that Afenyo Makin is not the only spiritual person in parliament.
Okay.
That even on his side, there are others who believe in the spirit. What spirit it is, I don't know.
Okay.
Yesterday, I was hazarding a guess that it could be the spirit of Susum Cabre. You
Which
remember?
is what?
In the Osofo does it.
Oh, okay.
I mean, the Osofo,
Okay,
he used to call on Susum Cabre,
Yes.
and yesterday I was wondering whether Susum Cabre has not found a way to enter parliament, But there may be other Susums and spirits. Now, if everybody is to be as spiritual as Afenyo Makin is, there will be no resolution to the matter.
I just saw something on TV. I thought that was a Susan Cabra. It appears that is actually a human being.
So, this whole issue is really, I mean, and sometimes I sit down and I watch what happens in Parliament and in other governance institutions and so on. And you simply just begin to wonder, Honorable, whether the people we have entrusted with powers to run our governance institutions and so on are adults. You wonder sometimes, really. I mean, when you see members of parliament grabbing ballot papers and chewing them and so on, you begin to wonder, what is happening here? What really is happening in our parliament? I don't know.
Because the aging is just is a natural thing. It doesn't mean the fact that somebody is adding on with years. That's not. Yes, there's a certain expectation by society, but why? We are told that fools grow old too, idiots grow old too, thieves grow old too, dishonest people grow old too. So,
Randy, I'm not going to contest you, except that
unprincipled people grow old too.
Yes, except that as you grow old, you come through different experiences.
You mature in your whatever. If it is folly, you mature in it. If it is stupidity, you mature in it.
Therefore, so and semi the debia a bit good social media so. Name no pet, the no cre nkansah dia, and the mistress of subscribe to your YouTube channel no. The Punch TV, the Punch TV. Me a subscriber to me say who hear me ye pa. Said the be and send be a best circulate media so no. Eba ni post ya unsu be notification. The when you be a share a day ama me. Mesro, so be share video ama fro enya bi ahwe. Obi wa amanone anase Ghana ha krampa obetimi enya bi ahwe e de ama me afa nso ma re mfi se wo be like o comment a eye wadwen kire no so then no comment section e fa ma me na mi timi me kenkan emfa emam de opese wo twire bi a wo de twire to no ba be kenkan kama e de ama o channel ni din e de the Punch TV yankasa so ye frame a kire broni makrao